Oh, Super Mario Bros. A truly classic game series, and one that has been a lot of people's first experience with video games. From the arcade games all the way to the Nintendo Switch, the series feels like it's been around forever. And we have one man to thank for all the good times with Mario and friends. So, let's hop right into this first episode of Skimming Video Game History. Shigeru Miyamoto has brought many wonderful childhood memories to a lot of us. He has created and been a part of creating plenty of classic games and series, such as Zelda, Star Fox, and many more. Though, considering the title of this video, we'll be focusing on arguably his biggest success, Super Mario Bros. Let's go all the way back to when Mr. Miyamoto was hired by Nintendo. In the year 1977, Miyamoto was hired to help with Nintendo's arcade games. He didn't work on games at first, though. He worked on the art for the 1979 arcade title, Sheriff. He didn't work on games at first, however. He worked on the art for the 1979 arcade game, Sheriff. Given his degree from the Kanazawa College of Arts, this makes sense. He also assisted with the art for Radar Scope, a Space Invaders type game developed by Nintendo in 1980. Both of these games had an okay reception in Japan, but they were still struggling to capture an American audience. Nintendo put a lot of faith into Radar Scope. With the newly established Nintendo of America branch, they purchased around 3,000 arcade cabinets for Radar Scope. To their dismay though, they only sold around 1,000 cabinets, and the ones they did sell weren't very popular. And not to be too negative, but it's clear to see why Radar Scope wasn't a hit. It just seemed like another run-of-the-mill space shooter game. Think Space Invaders and Galaga. I'm not saying Radar Scope was a bad game, but this genre had already been done to death by other games, and while those other games were older, they did the whole space shooter thing a lot better, honestly. Anyways, Nintendo still had around 2,000 Radar Scope cabinets laying around the warehouse. They needed a plan. What they thought was going to be their path to having an audience in North America turned out to be a failure. The decision that they made next would change the video game industry forever. The president of Nintendo at the time, Hiroshi Yamauchi, knew something needed to be done about these cabinets, and made the decision to have them converted into a new game. He gave this task to Shigeru Miyamoto with supervision from the future Game Boy designer, Gunpei Yokoi. Miyamoto had an idea to make a game, inspired by the love triangle in the cartoon Popeye the Sailor Man. This idea didn't last long though, as he was unable to obtain the rights to Popeye, so it was back to the drawing board. He still wanted to go forward with the love triangle idea he originally had though, so, taking inspiration from King Kong and Beauty and the Beast, he changed the characters. Bluto, Popeye's big and burly rival, was turned into an ape, as Miyamoto wanted to keep the idea of a big antagonist, and believed a gorilla wouldn't be too scary for kids. Olive Oil, the love interest, was changed into Pauline, and Popeye was changed from a buff sailor to a short, pudgy carpenter named Jumpman. The name of this now iconic arcade game came to be known as Donkey Kong, named after the villain of the game. After cycling through many gameplay ideas and different designs, they ultimately settled on the gameplay we know and love today. Donkey Kong would kidnap Pauline and take her up a building that was currently under construction. Jumpman would take action and give chase. However, he would have to make his way up while facing challenges, such as barrels and springs being thrown by Donkey Kong, flame enemies, and gaps in the platforms. If Jumpman fell from too high, you lost a life. Jumpman could also collect a hammer power-up to smash barrels and enemies. Throughout the levels, the player could also find and collect some of Pauline's things, such as her umbrella and purse, and collect them to gain extra points. The game was a huge success, and gained Mr. Miyamoto a lot of respect within the company. Given the game's success, Nintendo wanted Miyamoto to do more video game projects. Miyamoto worked on 2 sequels to Donkey Kong. The sequel was Donkey Kong Jr., where he plays Donkey Kong's son, trying to save him from Mario. Donkey Kong Jr. can climb ropes and vines to get up to where his father is, all the while avoiding enemies such as birds, sparks, and chompers, while also trying to collect fruits. The next game, Donkey Kong 3, didn't have anything to do with Mario. Instead, you play as Stanley the Exterminator, who's trying to protect his greenhouse from Donkey Kong. That's all I'll say about this game, considering it's not really a Mario game. Somewhere along the road, the main character, Jumpman, was given a name change. He was named after the manager of one of the warehouses Nintendo was renting at the time, Mario Segal, giving the plumber his iconic name. Mario had captured the North American audience that Nintendo wanted Radar Scope to capture, and the next game that Miyamoto would work on would help to further cement Mario as a gaming legend. Mr. Miyamoto and Yokoi began to work on a game by the name of Mario Bros. This game brought new characters and new gameplay mechanics to the game. This game was the first appearance of Mario's brother Luigi, as well as the first time Mario gained the ability to fall from great heights and not get hurt, unlike in the previous Donkey Kong series, where the player would lose a life if they fell to the platforms below the one they were on. The idea to have Mario not take fall damage was suggested to Miyamoto by Yokoi, who said he wanted Mario to have more superhuman abilities. Yokoi also came up with the idea to kill enemies from below by jumping into the floor they were on. However, Mr. Miyamoto thought that this made the game too easy, so they came up with the idea to first knock over the enemy from below, but then you would have to go up on the platform where the enemy was and kick them. The game took place in the sewers of New York, changing Mario's profession from carpenter to plumber. Mario and Luigi must go through each level and try to eliminate all the enemies who would come out of the pipes on the top of the level, and occasionally coins would come out of the pipes to give the player extra points. The new enemies in this game consisted of shell creepers, sidesteppers, fighter flies, and slip ice. There were also icicles and fireballs to avoid. Occasionally, there would also be a bonus stage where the player would try to collect all the coins on the screen within the time limit to score extra points. The game was released in 1983 to pretty good reception. It was the third best-selling arcade cabinet in Japan that year, and had sold almost 2,000 arcade cabinets in North America. In the same year, Mario Bros. Also got ported to home consoles such as the Atari 2600 and the newly released console in Japan, the Nintendo Famicom. The game was a smashing success and pushed Mario even further into icon status. However, the next game Mr. Miyamoto would work on would cement Mario's icon status: Super Mario Bros. For the NES and Famicom gaming system. With the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985 in North America, Mr. Miyamoto was tasked with the development of another game. I know I'm skipping over some of the other games he worked on during this time, but remember, this is Mario's history I want to cover here. Perhaps I could go more into Shigeru Miyamoto's career in another video in the future. Sorry for that tangent. Anyways, this time around, he wanted to focus less on high scores, like his previous arcade games, and he wanted to focus more on gameplay and what made games fun. He decided to make the game a platformer, not unlike his previous Donkey Kong games. But this time, the screen would scroll similar to the 1984 game Spartan X in Japan, better known in the States as Kung Fu. Making the game a sort of combination between Mario Bros. And Kung Fu, this evolved into Mario running and jumping through side-scrolling levels, where he could travel through pipes to go underground, and climb on beanstalks to go in the clouds. This was also the first appearance of Mario's arch-nemesis, King Koopa, aka Bowser. This time around, Mario wasn't in New York anymore. He was in a fantasy-like world called the Mushroom Kingdom, and his task was to rescue Princess Toadstool, aka Peach, and the Mushroom People known as Toads, from the evil Koopa King and his Koopa army consisting of Koopas, Goombas, Bloopers, Lakitus, Spinies, Piranha Plants, Buzzy Beetles, Cheep Cheeps, Koopa Paratroopers, and Bullet Bills. Mario would have to adventure across 8 worlds to complete this task. Mario also got more abilities. When he collected a super mushroom, he grew in size, giving him an extra hit before he died. He could also collect fire flowers, giving Mario the ability to shoot fireballs from his hands to defeat enemies. Then there's the Superstar, aka Power Star. When Mario collected this item, he gained invincibility for a short time, unable to be harmed by any enemies, and destroying any enemies that touched him. All of these new gameplay mechanics, mixed with the old mechanics from Donkey Kong and Mario Bros, made Super Mario Bros. A very special game. It was a game that anyone could just pick up and play. Mr. Miyamoto's design was brilliant, and due to how fluid the controls were, its pickup and playability, and just the overall charm of the whole game, it was a huge success. This was the game that cemented not only Mario as a gaming icon, but also Shigeru Miyamoto as an icon of the gaming development world. It was released alongside the NES in North America, and came packed in with the console along with Duck Hunt. It was not only a commercial success, but also a critical success. To this day, the Super Mario Bros. Series is still around and thriving, with Mario appearing in over 200 games to date. Mario took Nintendo from a Japanese company struggling to enter the American video game market to a company that was well recognized and well loved throughout the world. The Super Mario series introduced me to gaming, so it really means a lot to me. I'm sure some of you were introduced to gaming with a Mario game as well. The great thing about these games is their replayability and how easy it is for a newcomer to learn how to play and get hooked on the game. There's still plenty more to talk about regarding the history of Super Mario, and I aim to make this into a series and do more in-depth reviews of some of the games I talked about today. So, if you enjoyed this video, keep an eye out for future uploads. If anybody's made it this far, let me know in the comments down below if there's any way I can improve these videos and just make them better in general. Anyways, this has been Astral Antonio. Stay tuned for next time. Thanks. What's up everyone, and welcome to my second end slate. I want to thank anyone that's still here for watching this video. And if you liked the video, I'd really appreciate a like and a sub. It would really mean a lot to me. On the screen now, you can see the last video I did, which was a review on Super Mario World for the Game Boy Advanced, and another video I did on Super Mario 64. I'm still working on that Super Mario 64 Iceberg video, and I should have it out within the next week or so. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any game or gaming topic you want me to cover. I'll be sure to try and get to it. Alright, that's about all I have to say for now. See you next time on End Slate.